All right, let's go to the last two characters. You ready? Sunspot, Black Rook, a 5-cost bolt character with the Hellfire Club affiliation. A 143-154-266 stat line that says when fielded, deal 1 damage to target opponent for each die in your reserve pool on a double energy face.
I like this. I like it a lot. I like the stats, kind of. It's a when fielded, which is kind of annoying. I gave this quite a high mark. I think it's kind of a bit of the Blink syndrome where I want to build this into a team. So I know I'm going to build it into a team. So I'm going to give it a higher. I gave it a B plus. That's probably way too high. Um, but with the Energize, so I'm really excited about Energize, and I want to build an Energized team. And then this is the win condition for the Energized team. I don't know how much damage you're going to do every time. Probably, so when fielded, deal 3 damage, maybe at most. That's quite a lot to expect. You have to ramp really well. But I like it. I don't know. I like the idea. It has a dinosaur on the card. I'm down. I'm down with this stack.
That does give it some style
I
points.
don't
The
know.
dinosaur on the card
When I
helps a
saw it, I was
ton.
like super pumped.
All right, so this one for me, like I thought the same thing, like deal damage to opponent and then I just have to roll things on double energy. That's not bad. But the more I thought about it and the more I put it into sort of a range, like on average, I can expect to roll this on the character face alongside one character that I miss and put onto double energy. So
Yeah, I
it's
guess you
a
have to spend the energy to field him as well. So
when fielded deal 1 is really bad for a 5-drop. If you somehow manage to do a when fielded deal 3, then you're like applauding and high-fiving yourself because that's like really really good because you're saying that you're rolling 4 characters on the same turn and 3 of them missed. Is it better to field something and deal 3 damage to the opponent or field 4 characters? And oftentimes it's better to field 4 characters because you're likely to be able to push one of them.
yeah.
So this to me is very much a D rating, which is kind of sad because I think, like you said, it's a cool card. It has a dinosaur on it. I don't want to give a D to the dinosaur card. So
I know, but I feel like I don't know with some of the energized stuff, you could ramp with them. There's a bunch of like that magic and the Tana. They're all kind of ramp and churn tools. I'm trying this card. I That's why I'm excited about it. That's why I'm giving it. Okay. Screw the B plus is too high. Let me give it a B minus. I'll temper my enthusiasm.
this is Sunspot Lord Imperial, 5-drop bolt character, Hellfire Club affiliated again. This one says when Sunspot is damaged, corrupt 2. Every time I read this card, I get a little giggly because this is just so cool. Next to like a magic missile, get a bunch of bolts, and make your opponent's bag just terrible. And the beauty of it too is you can stop whenever you want. So like if you want their bag to be 2 dice in bag and 10 dice in used, like you can make that happen. If you want it, like you're now all of a sudden, not only are you just playing your bag management, you're playing their bag management to the worst extent it possibly can be. And that's hilarious. And then you consider like Tabaxi Rogue going down onto this team as well. So you have a 3-cost Tabaxi Rogue and then Sunspot out there. And each time you ping Sunspot with a bolt, Tabaxi Rogue is also dealing them 2 damage because they have to draw 2 dice from their bag out of their roll and reroll step. So this is both like a really mean card. It's like a really memey card in the sense that you're playing a completely different game at times with managing their bag, and it's a win condition that's really kind of like circuitous, like you have to go around things that you would normally do. This is hilarious. I give this card a B.
Yeah, I think I said in our little note thing that if this was a 4-cost, it would be an A easily.
I agree. 100%.
The 5-cost makes it a little bit of a reach because you kind of want to get this out as soon as possible, right? Because this is super devastating, especially early game.
Yeah.
Another Tom Vassal-ism from his review. He was like, I don't really understand corrupt and how good it is. Well, in higher level competitive, corrupt is going to be brutal with this card. I'm going to be so mad about people making me draw dice and messing up my rotation.
That's
and then
so
this
cool.
is so easy to trigger, and Magic Missile is probably going to be everywhere because of the Iceman. And fix it. It's going to be prevalent.
Well, look, I guess we just need to start running Polaris.
Yeah, they can only do it once, right?
Just run Polaris. Problem solved.
Yeah.
But no, this card is amazing, and it's funny, and it's fun looking, and I want to make a lot of videos.
And it's got great stats. This is a great use of good stats. I don't mind paying the 2 fielding because he has 6 defense for me to ping.
Yep.
That means I can do corrupt 2 5 times. Yeah, man, that Techno Global. I don't know what we rated it when you did the Techno review, but that
Yeah, it's back, right?
global is huge. Yeah,
And the final Sunspot we have to talk about, because we talked about them in order. Unfortunately, we probably should have saved the best one
they
for
should have.
last.
Yeah.
But this one is, in my opinion, the least interesting one. This is Roberto da Costa, 5-cost Bolt character. While active, when an opposing global ability or action die targets one of your X-Men character dice, deal 1 damage to that opponent. I don't think you're paying 5 for a 1 damage ping, even if you're running something that your opponent needs to survive, like by targeting your X-Men with globals. Like if they're blinking it back, you're not like, okay, haha, you blinked my big attacker back, and now I deal you 1 damage. Like that doesn't really go
Not
hand in hand.
satisfying, is it? Well, okay, so let me say this first. This is why I like that Polaris, which messes with global abilities and action dice of your opponent. Sorry, just action dice to your opponent. Because it's not specific. This is very specific. It has to be to X-Men character dice, which drops it a point. And then dealing 1 damage, you have to compare that to other ways we've seen this kind of ability in the past. So you have Wasp from Age of Ultron, where it did 1 damage every time they did a global, or Jinzo, which paid 2 life to do a global or an action die. That was 6 cost. This is 5 cost. I mean, is it equivalent anywhere near? No, this is D, if that.
I agree. This is a D. I'm not a fan. But let's talk about the final card in this team pack. This is Thunderbird. The first one is Buffalo Soldier, a 4-cost fist character with a X-Men affiliation and a 142, 253, 255 stat line that says, when Thunderbird is KO'd, return any other non-Thunderbird character dice that were KO'd this turn to the field at level 1. Why don't you kick us off with this one, because I think you have a higher opinion of this than I do.
I do. This is Shenanigan Central. The thing I should say right off the bat is I don't like the fielding costs for a KO'd ability. So it's difficult to get this back and trigger it. But being able to clear your opponent's field, and then, or clearing all fields and then bringing yours back, you bring theirs back, but they're at level 1. I don't know. I think it's interesting. The thing I thought of was Wolverine Patch, which kind of you could KO to do all the damage across your opponent's field. Then you could KO this to bring that Wolverine back, and then do it again. So being able to like do his attack all the way across your opponent's field twice in a turn is really strong. I think that's where it would fit, right? You do multiple when KO abilities.
And that's honestly the only thing that I could think of that actually functioned, because my first thought wasn't that one. Well, maybe this is great finally with like a Harley Quinn thing, because now Harley Quinn like KOs everything, including this, but then all of your stuff comes back. And then I realized, no, everything comes back. So Harley Quinn is totally, invalid at that point. And I just can't think of anything else that makes a benefit. Like maybe if you slam this down and you want to trigger all of your when KO'd effects at the same time, like for some sort of a big spiky turn. But then it just feels like a lot of hoops to jump through to trigger all of those at the same time that don't. I can't think of like a ton of them that want to be triggered that make some sort of a swingy thing. It just doesn't feel like it does what you'd want it to do to the extent that you'd want it to do.
I definitely think this is a spiky card, right? There's gonna be some wacky combo that someone comes up with that works.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But for any other scenario, to me, this makes perfect sense as a D.
So my thoughts were kind of that, but as a defensive tool, I think it actually also has a place. And so I don't know if this technically works. So, but if Thunderbird's level 2, your opponent attacks with Gold Dragon, all your stuff is KO'd, then comes back, right?
That's true, yeah.
So now you have blockers regardless of the breath weapon.
Yeah, in that scenario, that would be good. Sure.
So it kind of works as kind of like if your opponent's trying to board clear.
In exactly the board clear during main step or like breath weapon scenarios, it would be good in those scenarios. So yeah, maybe it is worth a little bit more than a D because of that defensive capability. But it doesn't feel like it's much better.
I don't know. I don't know. I like it. I think again, when KO'd stuff is really difficult to kind of stop your opponent doing, and when there's an ability which is difficult to stop, I'm always more interested in it. I don't know. I like this. I gave it a C plus. It's probably what it could be rather than what it is. Again, same as the Polaris action, giving it for what it could be rather than what it is. But there's potential. I think people will mess with this.
I could see where you're coming from. Maybe a D is too harsh. I could come up from that, but I guess we'll see. Time will tell.
It will fall between probably a D and a C overall, I think.
Yeah. Thunderbird, Son of the People, is a 4-cost fist character as well. This one says, while Thunderbird is active, when an opposing character die is spun up, deal 1 damage to that die's controller.
I like it. See, what I like about both these Thunderbird cards is that they're different. They're not just, they could have easily just put Infiltrate on Buffalo Soldier, couldn't they?
Yeah, right.
Like, at least it's doing something where you can be like, oh, this is the only card in the game that does that. And then there's nothing really else that does this kind of thing.
Well, they literally just printed the Zatanna in the Justice set that does exactly this. But those are the only 2 effects. That Zatanna is a 3-cost and has a global built-in that says spend a die up a level.
I forgot about the Zatanna. Oh yeah, this is way less good.
So there's that exactly. But you could technically put that Zatanna and this one on the team, and then your win condition could be just getting more fists than the opponent or whatever is masks or something, and then spinning your opponent's stuff up and dealing them damage that way. But they can also play that back against you as well.
So here's where the Zatanna is different though. Is it deals damage if your characters spin up as well. It deals damage to you, right?
Yes. This one only deals it to the opposing character.
So the meta, I think the win condition to make out of this, I think we both thought of was the doing like a mass spin up, right? So the Power Almighty. The other one I thought of was Energy Field, where your opponent has to spin up. If you use the action itself.
If both of those are prevalent in casual play or semi-competitive play, like if a ton of people are playing, like I'm going to make a bunch of big dudes and then I'm going to spin them up even bigger and then ramp a ton with Power Almighty, then all of a sudden they have to decide, do I do that and then take 4 damage, or do I do that and take just a massive amounts of damage? They probably still do it because that card is just so good that taking 4 damage to ramp 5 dice is probably like 5 damage for 5.
I think that's where it comes in, right? You need the way to spin your opponent's stuff down or make sure they're not level 3. So maybe pairing it with the Black Cat, where they can't field level 3 characters. Maybe that makes it interesting. But it's got good stats for a while active. You just leave it in the field.
I give this, like, it's playable. This is a C- to me. I think it sort of teeters on that edge. The more I think about it, the less I think it's that powerful. But you could definitely pull it out and play it and slap it on a team with a few other things that are synergistic.
I'm going to try it with Energy Field, using it. And then I'll see how it goes. But I'm giving it a C. I think it's definitely playable. We shall see. It just makes you miss MODOK, right? That's what I said.
All right, you ready for the final card in the entire team pack? It's Thunderbird Wakinian. 4-cost as well. It says, when Thunderbird KOs an opposing character die, corrupt 2. And when I first read this, I was like, oh, there's got to be something really cool where I can make him, like, deal his attack damage to like a lot of different things at once, like a pseudo breath weapon. And I couldn't really come up with anything that did that, and so then I was sad.
You could give it range, right? That'd be the one thing that would be pretty easy to trigger.
Yeah, but it would only KO one thing. And so corrupt would trigger, and then maybe something gets blocked by, or it gets blocked by something, and so then it would trigger a second time. Like, I want this card to trigger corrupt like 18 times, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, I like it. I don't like the timing. It's a bit like that beast. I like it. I don't like the timing window on it.
Well, see, I don't mind corrupting at any point, really, because corrupt always messes with their bag state. If it happens before their turn begins, then you're more likely to guarantee what they're rolling, and if it happens afterwards, then there's always the chance that a bag cycle triggers on the next turn because of what they're doing. So, like, I don't really mind corrupt triggering at any point. For me, the timing doesn't really bother me because it's not affecting me.
So my thing is that I kind of like corrupt more on my bag to control my bag. A bit like Create Food and Water. That's kind of where, unless you can do it multiple times. So this one instance of corrupts, which I think you trigger off this Thunderbird, I kind of want it to be like a Create Food and Water type effect. Whereas the Sunspot, right, you can mess with your opponent's bag, so you can do it multiple times in a turn. This one, I think, is more for your own bag control. And then I don't like the timing window when the most likely time you can do it is when you attack, because your bag is not, the use pile is not quite set because it's all out of play.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't love it.
See what I
I don't love
wish.
this one.
Here's what I wish. I wish Poison Ivy, Criminal Because of Love, the one that you get to KO a character die you control. I wish that card said if you do that die or something deals damage
That
equal
die
to.
deals damage.
Then all of a sudden now that's the kind of ability that I want. Like make this have like a weird breath weapon like ability.
Mm-hmm.
And then go to town with corrupting like all the things. That would be super cool. But unfortunately it doesn't. I think for that I gave this a D because maybe it's just because I was so hyped up and then it just didn't pan out.
Yeah, no,
But
I think it's a D. I don't think this is going to see. I'd rather play the other two than this one.
so Ben, let me ask you this then. What, after all is said and done, out of this set is your absolute favorite? And that could be just thing you like the most. What's your favorite card?
I think the best card is the Sage card. Can I give a top three? I'm gonna give.
Yeah,
a top
you can
three.
give a top 3.
But the Sage Sonic Fireball, I like a lot. I think it's
your
probably the
number
best
one?
card. It's probably the best card. I think the Sunspot, the Black Rook, no, Lord Imperial, is the second best card. But the one I'm most excited about is the Blink Down the Rabbit Hole, the one where it does 1 damage if your opponent blocks. The Infiltrate when blocked kind of thing.
That's super interesting that you picked that one.
I really like that one. I think it's gonna be cool. I'm excited to try that one.
I think my top 3, if I had to give a top 3, it would also be the Sage Psionic Firewall as my top one, just because that is so flexible. It's just going to slam on just about any team you could think of.
I mean, it's definitely not going to be my favorite one after I've played against it about 20 times.
No, sure. If you're going to run against it in tournaments, you're going to end up hating it. But I like that one a lot in general. It's not my favorite. But it is one of my top cards in the set.
Well,
I think,
if you compare it, remember the Hacker card, which is the same thing. That's a 4 cost. This is a 3 cost.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Hacker.
Second favorite card. Gotta want to lean towards that Mimic just because I think it's so interesting and I like thinking about that. The Mimic flying, blasting, slashing. I just think it's such an interesting card and an interesting way of designing a card. It's like putting a removal thing on a body and then just giving you these weird percentages that if you nail this small percentage, then something even better happens. I think that's really cool. But my favorite card is Sunspot Lord Imperial because it's just too funny to totally destroy your opponent's bag while also dealing them just damage after damage after damage. Like that was the first thing that I did when I opened these packs and turned the stream off that night is take that card, set it aside, and then start pulling other cards that went with it because it's just too interesting to pass up for me.
Yeah, it's going to be a pain. Yeah, I really like. I think this is another good set they've got here. Team pack, another great team pack.
I agree.
I think their last 2 are pretty good. So this one, I think, continues the trend.
They are hitting their stride, as it were, when it comes to team pack products, and they're giving us really interesting, thematic, fun, good cards. So that wraps up the Dark X-Men team pack review. That's all of the cards all the way through. I like this team pack. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to bust out and play with everybody else, and I hope everyone that checked out this content likes it as well. Leave a comment below as what your favorite cards were, what your top 3 were. Let's go ahead and give a top 3 of favorite, most enjoyable, most powerful cards. Let us know what you think about these reviews. Tell Ben everything that he got right, and then tell me everything that I got wrong. And as always, we'll see you next time.